So a lot of people argue that you should never look through your man's phone. But like, what if you just have that gut feeling that something's going on? And even worse, what if you do open his Snapchat and see a naked girl? So I downloaded this app called Wink and made a friend that we can call Shane. And even though Shane and I got really close over the phone, he lived in another state, so we never really got to meet. But one night he was coming home drunk from a hotel with his cousin, and I was coming home from a college party, and I said his cousin, who we can call PJ, was hot AF. And so Shane was like, oh my god, let me give you this man's snap. And a few months later, PJ and I were talking. And he agreed to drive the 4 hours to come to my state just to see me. I was busy cleaning my apartment that day preparing for him to come, and told him just to walk in when he gets here. So when this man came in, I kid you not, he walked in with a bouquet of flowers. And they were a dozen yellow roses, which he knew were my favorite. And after he left on Sunday, he asked if he could see me the next week, and I happily said yes. And before long, PJ and I started dating, but this happiness was soon to end. But seriously guys, do not be love blind, because this guy literally was driving 4 hours to see me every week. He would call me on all of his breaks. All of my friends were completely won over by him. And it didn't take him long to win over my family too. And about a month in, he finally took me to meet his friends and family. Our lives meshed so well that he asked me to move in with him at a party that night. I was hesitant at first, but then I packed up all of my stuff out of my apartment and moved out of state to be with this man. And after all of that, this man switched it up on me. He stopped taking me to parties with him and started leaving on Friday afternoons while I was at work and wouldn't tell me where he was. He wouldn't come home until like 6 or 7 in the morning on Saturday. And then we would just argue the rest of the weekend about it. Like, sir, I moved away from my family, moved out of my apartment, quit my job for you. He was straight up treating me like it didn't matter, and I saw him going to his phone all the time and acting secretive. And eventually I couldn't take it anymore, so I opened his phone when he was sleeping. I also forgot to mention this giant red flag. We were no longer active. Like, this man had cut off our sex life. So when I grabbed his phone, the first Snapchat that I opened was from a girl who was touching herself. My heart stopped for a second, but I was like, okay, let me just give this man the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it's just some girl trying to be sneaky, trying to pull one over him. But then I noticed that all of the recent snaps were from girls. So I started to go through all of his conversations and realized that he was messing with every girl on his snap. Every! And then there was this one girl who didn't have like sexual messages with him. They were more like lovey-dovey. But it went back to way before we were dating, so this man had never been faithful to me. I broke down, I blocked every girl on his snap, and then I threw his phone at his face to wake him up. I demanded to know why he cheated on me, and that's when he realized that I'd blocked all the girls and he freaked out and lunged at me. We got into an all-out brawl, and I broke my hand in the process and locked myself in the guest room. This is a story time about how I was asked to be in a cult. This is also a continuation of the most insane person I've ever dated. After a few more dates, his interactions with me got worse and worse, and he got way more controlling. After I moved back in with my parents before COVID hit, he reached out to my roommate and started to threaten her because he no longer knew where I was living. I started to wake up to about 90 missed messages from him each night, and I of course didn't want to date him at this point, but I was too scared to officially break things off. I just stopped seeing him. Eventually though, I knew I was gonna have to say something. So I called him and broke things off. He was recently rejected from a job at the time and told me that I must have sneakily read his rejection letter because I stated the same phrases in the breakup. No. I talked to him less and less, but he kept trying to get my attention by sending me money or reaching out on social media. And one day he sent me messages acting like it was an emergency. So I answered, and he said he had an idea to form a group of 15 people that only did it with him. Just to add, this man's God complex is really messed up. He's trying to create a collective of 15 people who exclusively date each other. He wants to form it himself. It would be good training. For what? He also stated that he would schedule regular STD checks, so I guess I'm glad he's thinking safely. But I also said that he could just do Tinder dating. It's like dating a bunch of people at the same time. But nope, can't do that. Asked him who he would invite, me and my best friend for sure, because that's how you ask people nicely to be in a 15-person relationship with you. Also, I'd like to state that I'm not against polygamous relationships at all. So obviously with this being the big emergency, I wasn't talking to him as much. And I said that he was trying to send me money for royal expenses. I declined every single time he sent it. Also, I don't know what my contacts are doing. And I also said this man literally would leave me 90 messages whenever I would wake up in the morning. It would be stuff like this. What? Like he's really having conversations with himself in these.
Story time about how my brother caught me hooking up with his girlfriend. My brother started dating this girl last year and they were hanging out every day. Also around that time last year, I started to figure out my sexuality. Well, since my brother and her would hang out every single day at my house, I would see her all the time. And I started to get little feelings. Something came over me, baby. I was like, God is a woman. I just kind of came to the conclusion that I liked girls. Since she was dating my brother and they were home all the time, me and her kind of started talking too. We exchanged Snapchats, just a friendly exchange. Keep in mind that at the time she didn't know my sexuality. Nobody did. So that night after we exchanged Snapchats, I was Snapchatting somebody else and I was sending them some explicit pictures. Since I recently just added my brother's girlfriend on Snapchat, her name was at the top. So I accidentally clicked on her name and sent her the explicit picture. I didn't even realize that I did that until I received a snap from her out of nowhere. And she had sent an explicit picture back. So like I said, I accidentally sent my brother's girlfriend an explicit picture on Snapchat. Not knowing that I even sent it, I received an explicit picture back from her. I said, baby, I'll really bite your titties. Stop playing with me. After she sent me the picture, I responded with heart eyes, and then she texted me and said that she would be coming over tomorrow to hang out with my brother. I basically said, cool, I'll see you around, and then she came over the next day. So the next day came and she was at my house, but I wasn't talking to her. She was with my brother. And then she walks into my room. I was like, hey, where's Rob? We'll just call the brother that. She said she sent him to the store to get some snacks. I asked if she wanted to come chill on my bed. She agreed. And right off the bat, we started, we getting it bonking, having a good time. That's when the door swings open and there my brother is standing at my doorway. So my brother swung my door open and there he was standing at my door watching me and his girlfriend while we were. Immediately, he was just like, oh really? You're both fucking gross. That's when he turned around and left. Later on, we had to have like a family talk about this and I had to come out about my sexuality to my parents and it was really embarrassing. My parents were super accepting of me coming out, but my brother wasn't as accepting and I'm thinking it's mostly because of the fact that he had to find out the way that he did. Because it wasn't my sexuality itself that bothered him, it was how he found out. Later on, he told me that he walked into my room because he heard us laughing in there and he wanted to ask her what exactly she wanted from the store. He was gonna ask her if she just wanted to come with, but that's what he walked in on. So my brother went ahead and broke up with his girlfriend. That's when me and her started dating, and we've been dating for about 2 years now.
Story time about how I found out my best friend's boyfriend was abusing her. But not only was he abusing her, he had lured her into a cult and was using her for sacrifice. So me and my best friend were living together at the time. She was sitting on the couch taking surveys to make money online. She had made $3,000 in one day by doing these surveys. Link in my bio if you want to make bank. So she told me about this guy that she had been seeing. I was really happy for her because she had recently just gone through a bad breakup. The longer they were together, she started to get really sick really fast. She was a super healthy girl, like she worked out, she ate right. So the fact that she rapidly started getting sick as soon as she got a new boyfriend kind of worried me. So I tried to talk to her about it, but she got really mad at me. I was trying to tell her to go to the hospital to at least get checked out, but she kept refusing, and as we were arguing, she damn near passed out because how weak and sick she was. I didn't see her for a couple days after that. I thought that she had left the house after we argued. Well, after those few days, I started to notice a really bad smell coming from her room. So I go to check it out. When I open the door, I see her body just laying there covered in satanic symbols, the circle with the star in the middle, and there was blood coming out of her mouth. So like I said, I walked into my best friend's room and her body was just laying there. She was covered in satanic symbols and had blood coming out of her mouth. I thought that she had left the house after we argued and went to stay with someone else. I didn't see her coming in and out of the house and she wasn't texting me. We did get into an argument and I thought she wasn't talking to me because she wanted to cool off. So I immediately called the police. I took her to the hospital and they also looked around her room and around the house. Well, when they looked around her room, they had found chewed up dead rats in her closet. She had found out that it was her eating those dead rats when she had went to the hospital and they found it in her system. She ended up being in a coma. The police seemed really suspicious of me and was asking me a lot of questions. It does make sense because I was the last person to be seen with her. Well, a few days later, I get a knock on my door. It's the police. They arrested me on suspicion of trying to kill my own best friend. But not because they were suspicious of me, but because my best friend's boyfriend had told the police that my best friend had told him she had overheard a conversation while I was on the phone about me trying to get rid of her for good. The police had showed up at my house and had arrested me for suspicion of trying to murder my own best friend. Because my best friend's boyfriend had told them that I had a plan to get rid of her for good. So police took me into custody. Apparently, my best friend's boyfriend had evidence against me, which was a note that she had written saying that I had a plan to get rid of her, which she had given to her boyfriend, who didn't know what to do with it until now. She had signed that note. They had checked the signature, handwriting, and the way that the letter was written with her parents just to make sure that it was really her. And her parents said, yes, this is 100% her. Mind you, I was completely innocent. Whatever she wrote in this letter was not true. My best friend is not the type to make up lies like that, especially about people who are really close to her. That's when I knew that her boyfriend definitely did something. Well, a miracle happened, child. A miracle happened. My best friend woke up from her coma. She said she was done being brainwashed by her boyfriend and she was ready to tell the police everything about the truth. So while my best friend's boyfriend is trying to tell everybody that I tried to kill my own best friend, she woke up from her coma. She was ready to tell police everything. She said she had met him in the library and they were looking for the exact same book. They started talking, he asked her out on a date, and everything was good from there. He was actually really sweet, he spoiled her, gave her everything that she wanted, and then he started inviting her to these therapy meetings. In these meetings, they would do satanic rituals, they would literally do chants and draw satanic symbols all over their body. And obviously this wasn't her thing, so she told her boyfriend that she didn't want to go to those meetings anymore. Well, that's when he started abusing her and saying things like, I buy you every single thing that you want and this is how you're gonna treat me. She was so blindly in love with him that she kept going to these meetings. And she never told anyone because she was scared of what he would do. Well, she started to get more and more uncomfortable around him and he started to notice that. And in one of these meetings, they said that they would need a volunteer to eat dead rats for a sacrifice. Her boyfriend offered for her to do it. Like I said, her boyfriend was taking her to these meetings. It was a cult. And in one of the meetings, they needed somebody to eat dead rats for a sacrifice. And her boyfriend basically offered up his girlfriend, my best friend. What the sacrifice was for, I have no idea. Anyway, so yeah, she's eating the dead rats and shit. And basically eating all these dead rats was supposed to like kill her. And he basically told her if he didn't eat the dead rats, then he would get his guys from the meeting to do something to her. Well, eventually the day of the sacrifice came. So one day he forced her to write the note. He was the one who forced her to write it. She didn't write it herself willingly. To basically say that it was me who put her in a coma and it was actually him, so he didn't get in trouble. They arrested him and he went to jail.